Hello and welcome back to Stop and Go F1 for this, our reactions to qualifying for the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Before we get into all of it, make sure you like and subscribe, and a huge shout out to our members, Dakota, The Joyous James, Robin Myers and Cinnamon Strudel. If you too want to become a member, there is a link in the description. Memberships start at the low price of 99 pence. My goodness, let's talk about qualifying, because it was non-stop. Baku is always one of those tracks where you have to expect the unexpected, but sometimes some things are just so unexpected you cannot expect them, including some of the things that happened here in this qualifying session. So let's get into it, starting with Q1, and there's a huge queue of traffic like immediately to start this session. People just wanted to get out there, get on the track, set their lap times. But as we go through, we notice that the Mercedes actually started the session on medium tyres. Now, they have done this a couple times before in the qualifying this year, and I don't really know what their plan is, because if their plan is to get through Q1 on mediums, it never works. If their plan is to maybe get a banker lap in on mediums so they don't waste a set of soft tyres at the start, then that works. So it depends on what their aim is here, because their medium tyre laps were nowhere near good enough as we go towards the end of the session. And that's because the track evolution in Q1 was absolutely huge. Colapinto shot up to P3 at one point in this session. Now, Colapinto was incredibly fast today, but he was not P3 fast. That was a bit too far. Max Verstappen is struggling here. He says at one point on the radio that he's absolutely nowhere. At that point, he was fifth at about 3 tenths off of pole position, which, to be fair, is better than what the Red Bull has been, like how it was in Monza anyway. But the Red Bull, I expected them to be a bit more forward. From what I saw in the practice sessions, I thought they were a bit more to the front than they actually are, especially, well, in qualifying trim anyway. They're a bit further back. I'd say right now, it's between them and Mercedes for the third fastest car. I'd put the Ferrari and the McLaren ahead, and they're about third or fourth, but they're definitely in a better position than they were 2 weeks ago when we went out in Italy. So Verstappen was struggling. Meanwhile, though, Sergio Perez just going faster and faster and faster. Perez loves this track. You know, we spoke in the preview about how he has the most wins here, has the most podiums here, has the most points here. If it was a season of Bakus, 24 Bakus in a row, Sergio Perez would be world champion. He's just absolutely fantastic here. So he was not struggling as much as Max was throughout all the sessions here today. Leclerc takes P1 late into the session by 4 tenths of a second, another Baku specialist, especially in qualifying trim. Mercedes do move to the softs and instantly see results. Russell goes up to second, Hamilton up to fourth. Then the track evolution really goes into a high gear. We see Ricciardo jump from 19th to 7th, and Yuki Tsunoda jump from 16th to 4th. At the end, there's quite a few big names in the drop zone. Verstappen was down there, Piastri was down there, Norris was down there. Verstappen sets a lap time good enough to go through. Then Piastri does the same, but Lando Norris does not. He's on a lap, he pits at the end, and he is out in Q1. Now, they haven't shown this well enough, I feel, on the actual broadcast. And I feel like when I was listening to the Sky guys talk about it, at points it sounded like they were doing backflips to try and find an excuse for Norris. So it sounds like a mix, because I went online as well to see what people were saying, and some people are saying there was a yellow flag thrown by a marshal. Some are saying the board was yellow. Some are saying his dash was yellow. Some are saying it was none of that and he just messed up his lap. Ocon was going slowly through that sector, but that's no big shock there, because he wasn't on a fast lap, he was just letting people through. So I think realistically what has happened here is a mix of different things. There was definitely a yellow somewhere, because he said in his interview afterwards that a yellow appeared. I don't know if it was a flag or a board or his dash, but there was a yellow somewhere. But also mixed in with that, I don't think he was on a good lap. We saw him go over the curb at the start of Sector 3. He seemed to mess up there. 4 wheels may have actually gone over the line there as well. I think realistically, looking at this is a mix of a lot of different things going very badly for Lando in that lap, meaning he is out. As for the rest of Q1, it was Ocon in P20, Zhou P19, but he has got an engine penalty and will be either starting from last or the pit lane tomorrow. Bottas 18th, Lando Norris in 17th, as we've already said. Daniel Ricciardo was in 16th, just missing out by 0.075 from Fernando Alonso there. But the huge story coming out of this qualifying session is the week that McLaren say that Lando Norris is their number one priority, he is out in Q1 P17. So yeah, I think I'll watch some replays and see what people say, but I think there is more than one reason as to why Lando went out, and I think it's a mixture between a yellow flag and his lap itself. Because if it was a yellow flag in a certain area, surely that would affect other drivers as well. And it didn't seem to affect anyone else. I think there's more to this than meets the eye at this point. We'll talk about it probably tomorrow. Who knows? Let's move into Q2 now, and again there's a big rush to get out of the pit lane. We get some unsafe releases here from Piastri and Colapinto, both of them nearly hitting George Russell. I doubt there's some unsafe releases as well in Q3. I don't think we will see any real punishment for these, because we don't normally see any penalties be handed out, maybe a fine at most for unsafe releases in qualifying. But as we go through Q2, the evolution isn't as huge in Q2 as it was in Q1. At the end of it, Lance Stroll is down in 15th, Hülkenberg is 14th, Gasly 13th, Yuki Tsunoda is 12th, and Oliver Behrman in a fantastic 11th place, just missing out on Q3 by just over a 10th, beating Nico Hülkenberg in a fantastic result. And he wasn't happy with his lap. His Sector 2 time was about 7 tenths down, so I think there was a mistake in there, might have been a lock-up for him. So he did mess up on his final lap, but still, to be 11th, and I think he was 10th with like 30 seconds to go, to be that close to be into Q3 in what is his second ever Formula 1 race, and it's not just like 2 back-to-back, it's 2 over the space of months, in a car that he's never driven in a official full-speed F1 session before. I know he's done some practice sessions, but in terms of a race or qualifying, he's never driven this Haas like that before. And to beat Hülkenberg, who we know is fantastic at qualifying and has a hell of a lot more experience than he does in the Haas, that is a brilliant qualifying result for Ollie Behrman, and he was upset at the end of it because he thought he could do better, but I think that is a performance to be proud of, and hopefully he can capitalise on it tomorrow, and who knows, maybe even get some points for Haas. Great start to the relationship between Behrman and Haas there. Colapinto, though, was the huge surprise of Q2. He finished in 6th place in the Williams, and he got into Q3. Only his second race for Williams, he's in Q3. Something that Logan Sargent didn't do all year. I think he did it once last year at the Dutch Grand Prix, but so far in 2024, Logan Sargent had not got into Q3 once. Colapinto does it on the second outing. Into Q3 now, and more unsafe releases, firstly for Colapinto and then by Albon, both nearly hitting Perez. Again, maybe a fine, maybe not. Then as we set our first laps, here is our top 10 after everyone has set the first lap. It is Alonso in 10th, Colapinto in 9th, Albon in 8th, Hamilton 7th, Verstappen 6th, Perez 5th, Russell 4th, Piastri 3rd, Sainz in 2nd, Leclerc in 1st place. Then we go out for the second and final lap for everyone, but there's something wrong with Alexander Albon because he still has the engine cooling fan in the car. I've never seen this happen before. I cannot think of any time I've ever seen. It's fluorescent yellow. How do you miss this? Like, not even in testing, where silly things like this might happen. I can't remember this ever happening. In Q3, on the last lap, Albon has to lift his arms up above his head whilst in the car, pull it out and throw it to the side of the track. And then because he's wasted so much time doing that, he doesn't actually have enough time to set a second lap time. So he has to go by his first lap time, and he drops down from 8th to 10th. So a wasted potential here for Albon. And on the radio afterwards, James Vowles was like, I'm so sorry, Alex. I promise this will never happen again. Yeah, it better not. It's one of the stupidest things I've ever seen happen in a qualifying session from a team like Williams with so much experience on the grid. How the hell can you allow that to happen? How many, it's like, I know that to pull that out is probably one mechanic's job. But how many mechanics surround the car before it goes out? And then you have the guy at the end of the pit lane who says it's okay to go or not. How do you not see a massive fluorescent yellow thing on the top of the car? Then he has to drive past the pit wall. James Vowles there and all his friends. How do they not see, there's a massive yellow fluorescent fan on the top of the car. Park it by the end of the pit lane so the mechanic will take it out and then you can go out. The person who noticed it was Oscar Piastri, who was in front of Alex Albon and saw it in the mirrors. You can't see anything in Formula 1 mirrors, and he still saw it, but not a single member of the Williams team did. It was one of the stupidest things I've ever seen. It was ridiculous. So I felt so sorry for Albon there missing out, because this means, I saw online, for the first time since Silverstone 2022, Alex Albon is beaten by a teammate in qualifying because he didn't set a second lap time, which is madness. Anyway, let's move, because Albon in 10th, his teammate Colapinto finishes in P9. And I don't want to take anything away from Colapinto with this whole Albon didn't set a time thing. That is a fantastic result for Colapinto. His second ever Formula 1 race. He has never driven this track before. He had a crash yesterday. He came back. He really pushed the car well, set a really good lap time. So P9 for Colapinto is absolutely fantastic. Fernando Alonso is in P8 in what I think is a very underrated lap from him. I might go under the radar a little bit. I mean, if we go back to Q1, he was 0.075 seconds away from being knocked out. It was between him and Daniel Ricciardo. Lance Stroll can only do 15th, but in the end, Alonso pulls through to get 8th in Q3. A very good result for him there. In P7 is Lewis Hamilton, only 6th for Max Verstappen, who, like I said, I think Red Bull have taken a step forward, but it's not as far forward as I initially thought they would be. But P6 for Verstappen. Russell is 5th. Sergio Perez, fantastic stuff, outqualifies Max Verstappen for the first time, I believe, this year at Baku. P4, incredible lap time from him. Then into the top 3, Carlos Sainz is 3rd. Oscar Piastri in 2nd place, 3/10 off a pole position, and he had a huge slide in turn 15 as well. If that wasn't there, maybe we're seeing him on pole. Little mistakes costing him big result here. But on pole for the 4th time in a row at Baku is Charles Leclerc. He always knows how to get the time out of the car over one lap in Baku. He is fantastic here, and he's done it yet again. As I said, 4th pole. I think it's like his 5th or 6th overall. I'm going to double check the stats here. But yeah, fantastic stuff from him. But yeah, great result. The thing that I noticed the most, though, after all of this, after everything that has happened, was that we have the interviews. And I'm sorry, because I'm trying to find the stats here, but I can't even find the circuit. Here we go. The stats, pole positions, Charles Leclerc. Oh, it's 4. It's just 4. They're all in a row. So there you go. So after the session, we get the interviews with our top 3 drivers. And all the talk going up to this weekend has been about McLaren and team orders and how they have to back Lando and how Piastri should have to move over because of championships and all this kind of stuff. And Piastri is interviewed and he says, and the interviewer, I can't remember who it was now, but the interviewer says, given how qualifying has played out, do you think he'll be allowed to go for the win in this one? And he has the biggest smile on his face I've seen in a very long time, because he just knows, because he must have had so much media this week, basically people telling him that he has to move over for Lando and he has to give up wins for Lando and all this kind of stuff, and to come out in this session and put it P2 whilst Lando was out in Q1, to really just go, maybe I should be number one driver in McLaren. It's a fantastic story playing out at the McLaren at the minute, and I love watching it. So it will continue tomorrow, what should be a very, very fun race, because I don't think the Ferrari is the fastest on race pace. I think Piastri can go for the win here. It's going to be interesting to see what the Red Bulls can do, because so far it seems like Perez is definitely the faster of the two. But very much like team orders might play in McLaren, they might play for the first time in a long time in Red Bull, with Red Bull having to tell Perez to move aside. And of course, what will happen with Lando Norris? I mean, it's a street track, he's starting quite far back, it's a very dangerous place to start. It's a hard place to overtake, as well, as we saw a bit in F2 this morning. A lot of the race taking quite a processional route. But then as soon as one safety car comes out, another can come out, and another can come out, and that's when you can start making those big gains. It's a race of survival more than anything is Baku. So, points definitely on the card for Lando Norris, and who knows, could be even better than that depending on how everything goes down. So we are expecting a very fun race tomorrow, and I'll be here to talk you through all of it afterwards. So make sure you join me then. Until then, though, have a good one. I'll see you later. Goodbye.